X-Men 97. The season has finally ended by the time this recording with a Rotten Tomato score of 98% by the critics and 95% by the audience. As a one-time fan of the morning cartoon show back on, what was it, Fox Kids
Yeah, it was like
back in the
it
day?
was Fox Kids, and we're talking about back in '92, running to '97. It ran in 5 years.
No, 96, because this is 97.
IMDb said it ran until '97.
Anyway, some things, in my opinion, should never be touched.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of them.
Okay.
Welcome back to A Tales of Two Bros. My name is Angel,
I'm a Don.
where we give a review at least once a week. Spoiler alert.
Is that your Wolverine?
I was trying. You re-saw or rewatched the original series, currently also streaming on Disney Plus. So help me out here, because when I first started watching it, I was so confused on certain things, but then, and also I was like, why the hell am I watching this?
Mm-hmm.
When we're kids watching these shows, anything cartoonish grabs our imagination, our attention, especially kids, right? Of course, when this came out, I was a lot older. I was in my late teens. I don't remember how bad the writing, the acting was as watching this season.
Oh yeah, no,
Holy crap.
it was pretty cheesy.
The acting here is horrendous. Scott,
Mm.
Storm, my powers.
But
Oh, I
oh,
don't feel the wind. And Scott Summers, we gotta get. No, that's Wolverine's voice. But his voice was like,
Gene.
yes. Was this like this?
Yes, absolutely. And actually, that was a lot of jokes were around before the '97 came out. There was a lot of memes and jokes about how melodramatic the original X-Men show was. Like,
And a lot of sexual innuendos too.
oh, 100%. Setting aside Rogue,
There's
there's always a scene where it shows Rogue's backside. There's always a counter on like how many times Jean passes out and moans in the process of passing out. She's doing something psychic. Some have it, Scott, and then passes out. It's like a thing. And then the Wolverine growl and cut. He can't cuss, so he's like, "You egg sucking," like all sorts of
right
insults.
And they underused him here. It was mainly Scott and Jean Grey's and the clones story, and a little bit of Jubilee and Sunspot.
Well, arguably, like the original series, like Wolverine did steal a show, and it was like technically Jubilee's show. When you rewatch the original, like Jubilee was like the focal point because that's like the audience point of view.
Right, but she was also like Kitty Pryde, because there's a standalone episode.
She was definitely the substitute
Kitty
Pryde. Yeah,
when Kitty Pryde comes in and joins the X-Men, and Juggernaut, I think, comes in. They fight, whatever, blah blah blah. And anyway, I know though, like a lot of the original voice actors came in here. Of course, some passed away due to the how many years passed by. It's definitely 30 years, 24, 96. Because 97 is a sequel to the original series that would have came out in 97.
Correct. They did do a little bit of a time jump, but like it's pretty much set in the 90s, mid to late 90s.
Right. I actually stopped watching the originals before it ended. I just found some things like over dramatic. I remember things being over dramatic. But before we go into our likes, I want to hit our faux pas. I want to hit the dislikes. Besides the horrible acting, I thought Morph was dead. When did he come back?
He came back either season 4 or 3. So it wasn't the original X-Men series. He came back. It was Mr. Sinister that pretty much saved him, but he brainwashed him. That's why in this series of X-Men 97, he's like, oh, not you again, because he tortured Morph mentally. He has PTSD.
Right. Because I remember he died like in the first episode.
He did, yes. But like again, the rule of thumb, if you don't see him die on camera, you're not really dead.
I get that, but I was so confused. I was like, what the hell? I was like, how's this mother freaker alive? And then he wouldn't wear his real face.
That was a critical choice that they did for the creators of this version of the show. A, they wanted to make it more non-binary, but B, that's also his design in the comic book series Marvel's Exiles, which I love that series. So in that
Hmm.
version, there's a alternate reality morph that came from Mojo World, and
Hmm.
he just embraced his shape shifting ability so much that he became more kind of like the chameleon from Spider-Man. Remember, he
Hmm.
doesn't really have too much facial features, so he can shapeshift
Right, right,
more.
right, right,
He kind of embraced
right.
that non-characteristic feature.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And again, like the shape shifting that he does, because he's like Beast Boy. He's the male version of Mystique.
Yeah, yeah, he is actually.
But the thing is, like his leather bomber jacket shape shifts. Everything changes. It's like, dude, I was like, I mean, I don't know, being a little more mature now in the sense of seeing that, it just bothers me when I see every fiber of the being and the clothes that they're wearing changes.
That's been a trope for years in comics. Like,
I
look at the
understand. Yeah,
scrolls and
I get it. I know it just doesn't make sense, and it hasn't made sense to me for years. Beast Boy in Titans, the
yeah.
live action show, like he changes, but he comes back and his clothes are like torn to shreds or gone.
I
He's
mean, would it
naked.
have made more sense if it was like they introduced like the Fantastic Four and they'd be like, we got unstable molecule outfits that you're gonna wear, and they adapt to your powers. You know,
I don't know. I mean, also
just
there's like Edna in Incredibles when she made the suits to adjust it. But I don't know. I just find it a little. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I
yeah.
just find it annoying. What faux pas did you have?
Pacing wise,
Oh,
it feels
yes.
very, very rushed. I will say that is also a faux pas of the
Rushed.
You thought it was
It
slow?
felt slow as shit to me.
Oh no.
Holy
So
crap! It felt
I'll
like
explain why
slow.
it's rushed though. I kept up with the X-Men stories over the years. I know you're out of the
Hmm.
loop. A
Hmm.
lot of times where you're watching like one story, you're actually watching like 3 or 4 stories in 2 to 3 episodes. Like the entire series, they capture 10 to 15 different storylines. It's like insane how many
Well,
storylines were
it
weaved in.
felt until the second half of the series, it felt like they were all over the place.
Kind of,
They
yeah.
did a single episode with Jubilee and Sunspot at JoJo World.
Yeah, that was more of a filler, but they did touch on to the storm
But was it
with
needed?
Forge. Eh,
Right, and they went jumped in there. I mean, but was it needed? Like
that one
it
was
felt like
definitely
it was
more fan
unnecessary.
service. Yeah.
And oh my god, the thing with Forge and Storm and her over dramatic ass.
Yo,
Oh,
that's
it was so
definitely was a faux
painful.
pas because I was talking to someone at work. I'm like, I did not like. I enjoy the fan service for anime that they did. I did not think it made sense about when she regained her powers. Somehow she manifested a new costume from manifesting her powers, like in
Right, but it's
mid-flight,
like
and like she lightning
yeah,
turns her into a black costume, and I'm like, what the hell happened? Just
right. I mean, it's one of her original costumes, of course.
yeah,
It's a classic,
but still,
but
like she doesn't have I can manifest clothes powers.
she's not morph.
Exactly. I get it aesthetically, sure, we'll go for it. Like, it's artistic licensing. Doesn't work for me.
I had trouble watching this. Kim was like, "What the hell are you watching?" It's like, I don't know. This is not from my youth. I don't know what this is. I mean, I understand that they go into, in a sense, of the same concept and approach as the original did,
Oh, they took
but
it up
like,
a notch from what the original did.
well, like it became a little more violent. I'll
Little?
say that.
It was a
Okay, a
lot
lot more
more.
violent.
Yeah.
Well, yes, it was a lot more violent, and then the blood. They're showing the blood. They're
And
showing the
characters getting
deaths.
killed. Yeah. Yeah.
That yes, on screen.
Hmm.
Yes, they did take up a notch, but in the sense of overall, it was hard for me to watch. The animation was weird.
One of my friends gave me that same opinion. And it's weird until you get to the fight scenes and then it gets smoother. Like that's where they focus their budget. But if you watch
Mhm.
the original is actually pretty choppy for the animation too. Again,
It's a
that's like 30
different. It's
years
like
difference.
right, but
Yeah.
it's just it looks off. It looks like there's a filter on the animation.
Yeah, I could say that. Hmm.
That granted, there were some things that I enjoyed, but before we go into that, was there any other faux pas that you had? Because again, me, it's just mainly the horrible acting. For me, the pace
Hmm.
and the jumping around until the second half of the series.
Did
Then it
it?
got solid.
Yeah, because it was felt more cohesive story. I get what you're
Right.
talking about. It was the first half where like you see Cyclops is falling from the plane, and he's like, "All flyers, grab those who can't," or something like that. and no one goes for Cyclops, and he does like the beam blast so he can land. Everybody I talk to has the same thought, like, why did that not break his neck?
And his beam blast, his optic blast, he used it differently. There'll be times where he's pressing a button, right? And there's times where he just goes, wow, nothing being pressed, and it just shoots out.
I do have an answer for that. Granted, it's something I learned in the comics, but it's a part of a design of his costume. So he does have a thing where he can hit the optics on his visor, but he also has like a controls in his gloves. There's continuity written into his.
I understand that. So why not just do one or the other? Why is he always changing?
Well, one, it's like to give the perception that like he needs to do this in order to activate it. It's a thing. I don't know. It's supposed to be a clever thing, but it's also a way for writers to not have to worry about that excuse anymore.
Unless he's doing it to control the blast, where I guess when he does it without touching and uses his glove.
That makes sense.
Well,
like like a focus beam
this,
versus like a like large shot.
Maybe but it just made no sense because for the most part he was doing that and then he went off with it. You know, he did a shot without touching at all. And I was like, okay. And then he went back to touching. Also, am I wrong or am I going crazy that they changed costumes so many times? Like Cyclops has the one with his hair out, and then he has the hood on, and then he has it out, and then he has the hood on.
Supposedly because of the whole EMP affected their newer costumes because of Magneto, which made no sense to me. I don't get that because I'm like, half their costumes don't even use electronics like that. But
yes,
they did.
Spandex.
I know.
Okay.
And then or they were like damaged and stuff like that.
Okay.
Listen,
see, I mean,
it's the same thing. Like, why couldn't Storm just wear her white outfit? Why she had to switch it to black? Why, makes no sense.
I mean, I don't mind her switching her outfit. I just mind how it was switched.
Although I will say, at the end when they were into their classic outfits, first thought that came to mind since they were going to Asteroid M prior to the X-Men. Remember the original? No, remember or it was a small. That was an actual pilot,
right? I'm talking about that's the one with Kitty Pryde coming in, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
okay.
Fun fact: that was the original pilot they were gonna do for the X-Men series because that came out in 1989. And then they saw that animation wise it was better.
Yes, and as I was about to say, animation wise for that was a lot better. But I guess since this was a pilot or one shot, they can put more focus on there. On a series, doing that much detail does cost money and time.
Well, yeah, but the pilot is trying to hook forward to get the series going. So
right now, what about moments? Good moments.
The name's Gambit. Remember it.
Yes,
that
scene was hot. That scene was hot when he's trying to destroy
it's a wild sentinel,
right? But what he did and then his sacrifice.
Oh yeah,
holy shit!
First of all,
very intense.
None of us really thought that he will get got like that. That moment where he got is like a shocker, and then all of a sudden you see it start glowing.
Right, and I thought what he was about to do with the motorcycle was toss it at the machine.
He tossed it at Rogue. Yeah.
Right. I was like, oh snap. And then he gets stabbed, by the Sentinel. And then what he does is like, wow, he can charge anything, anywhere. It doesn't have to be through his hands.
Yeah, as long as it's not organic.
Right. Totally unexpected.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I liked about it. I also liked the aftermath, meaning Rogue, her reaction to his death and what she did.
Oh, when she went after General Ross?
Yes. And she went ballistic on that.
I figured you probably would like some of the crossover moments, even though they're like small.
Well, I like the cameos here was great.
Yeah, that was one of the things that the show was known for back in the day.
See, I don't remember all those cameos. Doctor Strange, the Hulk, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, Daredevil, Silver Surfer. Well, Silver Surfer is part of the X-Men line, but who else was there that I was like, holy crap. Daredevil was like really surprising. But what I liked out here when Cable came back and he's talking about the timelines, and every time he comes back, things change, that you see in correlation to Loki, the time branches. Did you notice that?
I didn't. Hologram? I didn't notice it right off the bat, but now that you mention it, I'm starting to remember it. Yeah.
So it was having that connection because we also have it in the ending of the Marvels,
Yep. So
where we see Beast, animated Beast, but even though it's done by Kelsey Grammer, is
yes.
voicing Beast in that one, but he's animated.
So they
with
actually
this.
have a comic book line for X-Men 97. They treat it like an Elseworld, like
Mhm.
part of the multiverse. So that's running in conjunction with regular X-Men Marvel comics. In
Mhm.
essence, yes, this is fully in line. And that actually goes in line with the ending of the series right now, because they ended up in 3 different times.
They meet Apocalypse, but it was like almost like I was like, oh, they're gonna meet Apocalypse because just like in the live action show movie Days of Future Past, I think
At the end,
credit,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
they're in the desert and they see the 4 horsemen. And here's kind of not similar, but they're in the desert.
Well,
They're
this
in
is
Egypt,
before the Four Horsemen. This is
right?
taking from the actual comics, like the beginning of Apocalypse, and it
Mhm.
involves Kang the Conqueror and the Fantastic Four in the storyline. So
Okay.
in season 2, we might actually see the Fantastic Four as well as Kang. The part with Jean and Cyclops, they land in the far future. They land in a future where Apocalypse won. He took over everything.
Mhm.
And the old woman that they meet, who's like Mother, I want to call her Mother Superior. I know that's not the name. She's
Mhm.
actually Rachel Summers, I want to say. Their daughter from an alternate timeline of Days of Future Past. Yes,
Mhm.
that's pulled from the comics too. Who ends up raising
I
Cable.
Oh, well, speaking about Cable, that I did like how they gave his explanation, Mr. Sinister, and then he had a plan for him and to use him as a tool, but they stopped it, and the virus, since it was incomplete, was now killing him instead of building him to the, I guess, the monster he was going to be under Sinister, and then they sent him to the future.
Yeah, which is funny. In the comics, that was Apocalypse who did that to Cable, but
Okay.
they tied in the current storyline that happened recently called Sins of Sinister, where, because you notice Cable had the red jewel, that
Right.
Sinister planting a piece of himself in Cable. So they just fused
Mhm.
those 2 storylines together to make this moment.
I mean, and I was also confused with, well, in the sense of the clones of Jean
Uh,
and what was her name?
Madeline Pryor.
Right, but I mean, of course, I don't know this because I was not really a huge X-Men fan growing up. I was more of an Avengers person.
I was the bigger X-Men fan.
Right. See, now I did kind of like when when she
Mm-hmm.
went to the dark side.
She called herself the
That kind
Goblin
of
Queen.
oh my god, that was painful to watch too. All that monologue that she was doing before she said that she's the Goblin Queen or whatever,
It makes sense from the
grandiose.
comics because she actually makes a deal with a demon and becomes a
Hmm.
legitimate Goblin Queen. Here, it
Hmm.
felt forced because she's like, "Call me the Goblin Queen." Why?
But no, but
Yeah.
yeah, I know. But she was giving all these like other like pseudonym names, like Ric Flair does with his thing,
Woo!
and then she finishes with a Goblin Queen. But it was so grandiose, and it was just like, oh, fine,
I
okay,
did like the
I don't.
nightmare sequences though.
There were some good moments, but again, like it was all over the place, and then there's a lot of pace, like when Jean is talking to Kurt and says, "I feel her pain, I feel her memories. I remember holding Nathan. I remember it was like what 10 minutes, 15 minutes of her just talking. I'm like,
That was always
just
Gene.
move. I understand, but it was just
Gene was never one of my favorites. Like, I could tell you from the original series, I was never a big fan of Scott Gene. I
no.
absolutely did not
And they
like those 2.
underused Wolverine just a
I
little bit. It was
Yeah.
again, it was more their story than ever his.
Well, that and
You
Gambit
have
and
some
Rogue
beast.
with Magneto, that whole triangle thing
That was
going
so
on.
weird.
Ooh,
That
it's
was
kind of
weird too.
cringy.
I mean, the thing is that she goes kisses him
Yeah.
because they were dancing, and then it's like, but
Because they
why
had a
kiss?
secret history together that no one knew
No, I
about 5
understand
years
that,
prior.
right? But the thing is, then they dance in front of everybody in front of her man,
Mm-hmm.
and then she kisses him in front of her man. I was like, the total disrespect you got here. I was like, I would have
Oh,
left too, like he did.
I mean, they kind of like, I get why he left, but she kind of told him like what was up, and he's like, "I'll be the friend waiting for you." He friend zones himself with that, and Morph calling out that that was just unnecessary. Morph.
I don't know why. For some reason, he reminded me like Roger Rabbit,
Mm,
making like unnecessary statements or comments. Try to be trying to lighten the mode, but you
yeah,
kind of put your foot in your mouth,
yeah, that's true
kind
to
of
his
thing.
character. Like he doesn't know
So
how to the social things. Kurt Wagner
right.
was one of my favorite characters, original series and the comics, and still to this day, 97. Love Kurt Wagner. Heart and soul of the team.
He was always cool. I just find it funny though. He always like poofs 2 meters away. When he saw the team again, he's hugging them
Yeah.
and all that stuff. There's like, he's hugging and then there's a person right there. He'll poof to go hug that person. It's like, why don't you just
Turn
hug the person? From what I know, every time he poofs, it's like a nasty fart.
It smell of sulfur.
Right
I
there.
did kind of like the look when Wolverine and Nightcrawler were fighting together,
Mhm.
and they show from Wolverine's perspective the teleportation, like going into. I thought that was kind
Right.
of cool. And then the
Mhm.
fight sequence with Nightcrawler with the 3 swords was actually kind of cool in my
Yes.
opinion.
I have 6. No, you have 9.
9. I will say I did like Bastion as the main
The
antagonist.
villain. Right. But did you find, I find it funny because his name is Sebastian, but he went by Bastion. And I'm thinking that they were doing it in a way like a play on bastard.
I mean, he kind of is.
No, I understand, but they can't say bastard, so they call it Bastion.
Would it have been better if they just called him Nimrod too?
Nimrod is such a stupid name.
Yes.
That sounds like a word for like idiot or jerk or shithead, whatever, you know.
Yeah, it's
And I
like
don't
one of the
remember
most
Nimrod.
Nimrod was one of the most dangerous Sentinels you could ever come in, and that was in the original X-Men series and comic too. The Nimrod, they used him for when
I don't remember.
yeah, it was like a Days of Future Past kind of storyline.
And then with Xavier,
Come
he
to me,
goes
my
back.
X-Men. I was laughing to myself like he was gonna marry Lilandra, bring in Earth into the Shi'ar Empire, literally be the ambassador, and then he's like, "My people are in danger. I have to let this all go." I'm like, bro, you could have brought an entire empire to help your people. You were not that far away from accomplishing that. And it was like, but they need me. They marry the woman, then come back.
That moment in the final, you are Professor X, while like they're in the water almost drowning.
That one like did throw me off because I guess maybe they were trying to change it from because that whole removing the adamantium from Wolverine was part of the storyline, which eventually introduces Onslaught. And the byproduct of like Wolverine loses his adamantium, Professor X loses it, and wipes Magnus's mind clean. In this case, clearly his mind is still there.
But the drama of it all.
Oh, the show is completely melodramatic.
No, but I'm talking about that scene right there where they're like, I understand they were like the best of friends growing up, and then they split their ways because of their own ideologies. But that the whole thing is like, my friend, I was like, dude, you have a freaking mass murderer that you. It's like Batman and the Joker.
They need
even though
each
they're
other.
not. Yes, they do need. They need each other to coexist because Batman represents order while the Joker represents chaos. But the thing is, you let this guy live, he's still going to kill, he's still going to destroy, he's still going to have that chaos. You got to take him out.
Yeah, it's the same argument. Why is Batman wrong? Well, because he lets the Joker live. Like every time he's complacent in the Joker's murders because he knows he's going to escape and he's going to kill more people. Countless people have died because he just didn't pull the trigger.
Right. But not just Joker, Penguin, Bane.
Exactly.
The list goes on and on. Ra's al Ghul. It's like, dude, you're doing more damage than good.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because of your personal moral being. And this is what we're happening here. Granted, Magneto tried his best, tried to do it Charles's way, Professor X's way, but he couldn't. The thing is, he tried, but it failed.
Yeah.
Now,
and
probably
I guarantee
it lasted longer.
No, in comics, it was around that same amount of time, that incident. The whole shutting down power to the world, I guarantee it was more than thousands, first of all. And then secondly, it was both mutants and people, like humans that were caught up in that because not all mutants have like the power of flight or can do other fantastical things. Like you look at the Morlocks, like Leech, the little kid that he's like, I promise you, I will protect you. And then he looks at him. That kid can't do nothing but turn off other mutant powers. So like, what's he going to do like when the power goes out? Nothing. Well, I mean, that probably would have helped when the Sentinel attacked Genosha. See, that would have been a good time to set off the EMP.
Exactly. But no
one does that.
On Rotten Tomatoes, 98% by the critics, 95% by the audience at the time of this review. I'm going to say, for me, 75. I do not agree with these high-ass scores. Maybe these high-ass scores because of nostalgia feel. But the thing is, when stuff is shit, stuff is shit. Yeah, there's nostalgia is one thing, but when is bad is bad. I mean, again, I'm going to go back to Star Wars. The people who grew up on Star Wars, especially the original series, original trilogy, they have produced some great Star Wars fan films or original content like Rogue One, like The Mandalorian, like Andor. You can even say Ahsoka, maybe, or Rebels, or the Clone Wars animation. But
Bad
then you
Batch,
have
Resistance.
same people, right? And then you have the prequels, in my opinion, are crap in comparison to the OTs. People love it because it represents their childhood. It's like, because I mean, I did like the prequels when I first saw it, but when I saw it again, I was like, okay, this is crap. This is not that good. Because you went initially for the nostalgia part. You want to go back to that lore, to that world, to that universe. But then your accessibility kicks in. This is not good storytelling. And here it's the same thing for me. It's not good. It should have been done better. You had the opportunity to make it better. Yes, you can still honor the original series, but make it better. What about you? How do you feel about this in the sense of the scoring?
I'm in the 90s.
Why? No, because it's nostalgia for you, mainly because of nostalgia.
Several reasons. One, nostalgia. Yeah, it does have a hold true to me, and I see a lot of correlation from the original to this one. And I did watch it within the last couple of years, and so I'm more familiar with the original, and it holds true to a lot of recent comic book storylines. So they tied them in relatively nicely.
Okay.
Thirdly, I enjoy something where I can not so much gossip, but discuss. If a show has some talking points and builds conversation, I end up talking about this with coworkers at work. And like, did you see the X-Men show? And they're like, yes, I did. Oh my god, Morph is like such a like a gossip queen, or like yada yada yada. The whole remember my name. Those are good moments, and it becomes fun times.
I forgot Captain America. Made an appearance.
Oh yeah.
With Rogue.
Mm-hmm.
I totally forgot about that.
War Machine. Did we mention War Machine? I think he was in there too.
He was there?
No, Iron Man for sure, but I think War Machine was also like in one of the scenes.
Okay, I don't remember.
I mean, the original also crossed over with the original Spider-Man show. They had guest appearances.
I think they were playing Spider-Man and X-Men like
at the same time.
Together.
Yeah,
at the same time, or right behind, or one episode or one show after the other. The X-Men, then Spider-Man.
Kind of like that.
Very Marvel.
Mm-hmm. But they didn't do that before. Not often, anyways, where they would interchange characters and keep it in continuity. So the X-Men series was in continuity with the Spider-Man series.
And I also do like where Morph changed. He changed into other X-Men characters, like Psylocke,
or like he turned into Colossus. Which I find
funny is like right. I was like, wait a minute, when does he become metal? He can make swords now too. So things like that. It's just like, I know it's for the kids thing, and you got to believe that world, but for some things I just have trouble detaching it. In the sense of sensibility. He's like the T-1000, but nothing organic. But he could do organic and non-organic.
Well, here's the thing. He can do it to a certain extent. And this is just talking about his power set. So, for example, he can turn into Wolverine, get the claws and make them metallic-like. But they're not adamantium. It won't be indestructible. They can be cut through and so forth like that. He can turn into the Hulk. He won't be as strong as the Hulk, but he can build more mass and more weight and more power behind it. He'll gain certain physical attributes and abilities. It's like imperfect version of that character. And technically Colossus's metal is organic metal. So Deadpool's girlfriend in the comics, Copycat, she is perfect. Shapeshifter. She can do the powers as well as the mutation.
Is this worth a watch?
For me, yes. I know you're going to be no.
For me, it was a waste of time. I'd rather have the memory of the original and leave it there and say that was a great part of my childhood. No need to revisit it. Now, will I see the sequel or the second season? I don't know. Will they call it X-Men 98 since there's another season? They can't call it X-Men 97 because...
I mean, it could all happen in the same year. They're technically time traveling right now. They could just get reset back into 97.
Damn it. You're right. All right, guys. That is our marvelous review of X-Men 97, currently streaming on Disney+. Have you seen it? What was your favorite moment? Who is your favorite character? Let us know in the comments below. Also, if you have a movie or show you'd like us to review, let us know as well in the comments below. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Until next time, will be the next time. I'm Angel.
I'm Adon.
Love you, bro.
Love you too.